Welcome to Leadership Reimagined, where game-changing conversations are reshaping the world of work. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Janice, the CEO and founder of Elig Group, Executive Search Advisors, where we are reimagining search. I am delighted to welcome our guest speaker today, Cathy Engelbert, who I have had the pleasure of knowing in her prior role as CEO of Deloitte, and since May 2019 as the first commissioner of the WNBA. Cathy, thank you for taking the time out from your whirlwind schedule to join us today.
Janice, it's so great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Before we get started, I wanted to congratulate you on the landmark contract reached by the WNBA owners and its player. This deal is historic in that for the first time, players would be given a compensation level and other benefits that better reflect the demands of the job. Can you share how this came together and how it will benefit the players and the league?
Yes, Janice, we just successfully negotiated our collective bargaining agreement, an 8-year deal. So nice to have long-term labor peace, as I said. And it came together because as I came in from the business world this summer and the players had opted out of the last agreement last October, we got through the season, had a great WNBA finals playoffs. And then we kind of sat down and said, we actually all have the same goals here. I had launched a strategy around 3 pillars, a player first agenda. So nothing better than to begin negotiating a collective bargaining agreement when you have that as your number one pillar. Then owner success. The owners need to be successful. We need to drive an economic model that makes them successful. And then fan engagement, because we need to drive more fans into our seats and more viewers to our game, particularly because as you look at the demographics and you look at the number of decisions made and influenced by women in an American household, it's over 80% of all purchasing decisions are made or influenced by women. And in a recent survey, over 80% of people surveyed said they like to watch women's sports. So we knew we had this moment that we could take advantage of with a strategy, very player first, economic model, owner success, and then fan engagement. And the players really wanted 3 things. They wanted, a better player experience. They wanted health and wellness. And obviously, they wanted higher pay. So we were able to say, we all have the same goals here to drive the WNBA to a higher level. And we bargained hard, and the players were very unified about what they were looking for, what they wanted. And we were proud to come to them with the large support of our ownership groups and provide, health and wellness, a collective bargaining agreement for moms, or for entrepreneurs, or for LGBTQ plus, which we have a community, and women in color. So we tried to do something for everyone in this agreement, no matter whether you were a rookie or whether you were a veteran.
Well, you accomplished this in a very short period of time, and it's amazing that you were able to do this. Was the momentum of women's soccer influence the timing of this deal? Or?
Yeah, when I went on my 12-city tour, one of the things I started thinking about was using the momentum coming off the Women's Soccer World Cup win, because that's where, people really enjoy watching women's sports. So using that momentum, knowing that that was a moment, but the momentum around the WNBA, and we had a highly successful season this year. And then really moving into this whole, which Janice, you and I have been part of for many years now, this women's empowerment movement and trying to lift women, not just in sports or business where I came from, but in society. And that was the goal here.
Right. So you have had such a successful career at Deloitte from 1986 until 2019. You rose rapidly. You became the first woman to lead a Big Four professional services organization. The Wall Street Journal highlighted your appointment as cracking the proverbial glass ceiling. And while serving as Deloitte's CEO, the company's revenue increased 6% year over year, leading a 30% revenue growth during your tenure, and $20 billion in revenues. And your incredible commitment to D&I led to highly progressive policies such as a 16-week family leave allowance. This is an amazing track record, and you were, as CEO of Deloitte, you were also chair and CEO of the audit subsidiary of Deloitte & Touche LLP, the first woman to serve as chair of the Catalyst board. And because D&I is so important to you, you were a founding member of the CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion. Why is D&I so important to you, personally and professionally?
Well, one thing, and again, we see it every day in our lives is how we move this kind of novelty of women going on boards or women first. And, I'm proud to be the first woman CEO of a Big Four professional services firm. I was very proud to be the first woman chair of Catalyst, but think about that. That was in 2018. And this is a non-for-profit for women in the workplace. And so moving that novelty to the norm has always been part of my goal. And it's really, really important, I think, that we make progress, but that we not be comfortable with that progress and that we keep going and women keep raising their hand and building their capability. And for me, when I was the CEO of Deloitte, to take over a firm at the time that was 60,000 and grow it to 100,000 people, 75% of which are millennials, and to be able to have an impact, whether it was the 16-week paid family leave, which, by the way, was for men and women, and it was for any family medical issue, not just maternity, paternity leave. So I was very proud of the impact that had and the impact it's had on other companies taking a look at. And I know not every company can do that, but we were big enough and had enough scale and worked in big teams that we could do that. So we carefully constructed, a very people-first agenda, which hopefully I brought forward to the WNBA, and a player-first agenda. And you see the similarities between business and sports is big business, and big business is about relationships. So that was
So that
key.
16-week leave made it available for men as well. So
Absolutely.
that helped women in their lives. And that's very important for companies to see that it has to go both ways, right? For men and women.
Exactly.
Right?
And I didn't even realize the impact on men. And some men came to me and said, "Can I take it?" And I said, "We need you to take it and be the role models to help the women in the household, or to show men and women that this is something to support the family as a unit, and to support the life cycle of an employee, whether you're young, you're middle-aged, or you're older, taking care of elder parents, or you're, childbearing age and you're having children, or, whatever the family issue is." Some incredible stories of impact. And when you do something like that, you realize your people really are your R&D, or your how you should be investing. And for too long, I think companies don't look at their workforce that way. And I think that's really coming, of age, with companies really looking at the investment in people.
As an executive search recruiter, I can tell you that my candidates look at companies like yours, Deloitte and others, and now WNBA, to say, do I want to go to an organization unless it's going to be, equal pay and equal policies for both men and women, because it makes their lives better and they want to go there.
Yeah. And one of the reasons I took the job at the WNBA is I was looking for something different, Janice. Mm-hmm. I was looking for something with a broad women's leadership platform and something I had a passion for. So that platform that the WNBA, where we, have a lot of media coverage around women and women of color, and I think we're probably the most diverse professional league in sports. And that was important to me. And so, as you say, as these millennials are digital natives now, my children coming into the workforce are looking at places to work. They're looking at all of these things and how community minded and socially conscious companies are. And you saw the Business Roundtable add to their values around social consciousness. And I think
purpose-driven.
Purpose-driven. It's going to be really important for the future.
So now this is your next chapter. Yes. And it seems like it's a natural chapter for you. And I want to get into, you come from a family with 5 brothers, 2 sisters, and an athletic dad.
Yes.
Major influence on you. And Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner and your boss, recently said, Cathy is a world-class business leader with a deep connection to women's basketball, which makes her the ideal person to lead the WNBA into its next phase of growth. How did your sports interest in playing under a Hall of Fame coach and your competitiveness in the business world prepare you for this next chapter, Cathy? And why is this so natural for you to take this on?
Yeah, I think the competitiveness first came from being one of 8 children with 5 brothers and 3 older brothers. And I was always their 4th in the backyard, playing basketball or street hockey or wiffle ball or soccer, whatever sport, we were playing it. And all 8 kids played sports up to the high school level, a few of us in college. And I was fortunate to play both basketball and lacrosse at Lehigh University, and basketball under now, as you mentioned, Hall of Fame coach Muffet McGraw. But it really dated back to my father, who was drafted by the Detroit Pistons in 1957. And a lot of people didn't realize that. So my basketball DNA really dates back to the 50s when my father played. And obviously, he's in the Big Five Hall of Fame. He played for a Hall of Fame coach, Jack Ramsey, who was known as Dr. Jack.
Sure.
And just so much fun now to come back to my roots where, basketball's always been something I had a huge passion for, not only playing, but I love to watch the game. And I have 5 of my siblings went to Villanova, and they've now won 3 national championships for a small school. And so it's just all fit. And as Adam Silver was looking for the next leader, I'm pretty sure they were looking for a female business leader with a passion for the game. I was looking for something different, a broad women's leadership platform and a passion for what I was doing. And this just happened to be a really good match at a really good time when I was ending a long 33-year career at Deloitte. So very proud to be in this new role. And I've always loved sports and never thought I'd be working in sports after, being in business for so long. But there's a lot of similarities as well.
So you had the basketball hoop in your backyard.
Yes.
You had this athletic father. You had these brothers and sisters. You had the business background, and you loved the sport. And the D&I was also, the diversity and inclusion was part of what you loved. So now you come into this and you have a rebranding of the WNBA, right? So now you're in this role. So he's hired you with this 30 years of business, this operational experiences, this revenue generation. Share your path forward for the WNBA. And what does your customer base want you to do? What are you looking to do in terms of your objectives going forward?
Yeah, so this is a very multidimensional transformation, I call it. So whether it's sales and marketing capability, whether it's fan engagement, whether it's the total economics and how we drive revenue and how we look for new revenue sources and how we drive a more digital native, diverse fan into our game. Today, less than 1% of all corporate sponsorship dollars go to women's sports. Think about that, Janice. Less than 4% of all media coverage covers women's sports. So if we could tick those numerators up of those percentages, how much success we could drive and how much interest in the game. But the nice thing about what I inherited coming into the role is the product on the court, the quality of the game has never been better. So the foundational aspects of the game itself, anybody I brought to a game this past summer, because we're a summer sport, love the game, love the pace, the athleticism. These are elite female athletes, the best in the world at what they do. And now it's about driving a sales and marketing around these women to make sure that they become household names, driving a few rivalries. We just introduced and launched last week a new special competition in season that will run in August called the Commissioner's Cup.
Oh,
and
nice.
So we'll be looking to get that sponsored and to get media rights around it, but it'll be where we designate cup games during the first part of our season. We actually break this year for a month to support our USAB women's Olympic team, basketball team, who are going for their 7th consecutive gold medal in Tokyo this summer. And so we'll break and then we'll come back and relaunch the season with the Commissioner's Cup. And that'll be a game that we'll play based on the top point winners from our cup play during the first half of the season. Just add some excitement around that. And then obviously we'll play the rest of the season into the playoffs, and next year going into our silver anniversary 25th season. So everything's coming together with the momentum around the sport. And we'll watch in Tokyo very closely for the first time. There'll be a 3-on-3 basketball as an Olympic sport this year, because 3-on-3 basketball is the #1 urban sport in the world. So our game is highly popular around the world. So we'll be looking ultimately at what our global platform is. So lots of opportunities to broaden the revenue base, drive an economic model that works so we can give the players a better travel experience, better health and wellness, and certainly higher pay, which is what we've committed to under the CBA.
So trying to drive those revenues up. My husband is a huge football season, I don't see him, but he loves watching female basketball, loves it. So what are the viewer analytics like in terms of, male, female?
Yeah, so we're probably about split 50-50.
It is.
We need to do a better job of getting data on our fans, talking to a couple of partners to help us figure out our fan base. Who do we want to attract in? How do you attract in? The rebrand was a big part of that.
Mm-hmm.
We called it the architects of next. So we wanted the next generation of fans coming into our game and to be cooler around pop culture and art and things like that. So we're also going to introduce in 2021 in our 25th season a festival weekend where we have a lot of things like art, music, pop culture around basketball and women's basketball, because we know our fans are very interested in that. So just trying a lot of different angles. And because of the size of our league, we're a smaller league than the men's big professional leagues. We can actually pilot and be bolder around trying some of these things and see what works and what doesn't. And I know in business, a long time business, in order to grow revenue, we had to try a few things and not everything worked. And you have to kind of, again, go with the things that work, take some risks, and then kind of build the capability more broadly. But it is a multidimensional transformation that I'm really excited now that we're done the collective bargaining agreement, which I obviously took a lot of time and effort. Now we're off and running and selling corporate sponsorships, as well as, launching our Commissioner's Cup and a lot of the sales and marketing that we want to do around the rebrand.
So you have so many things underway. I just want to remind our audience that we are speaking with Cathy Engelbert, the WNBA commissioner, on a game-changing win at the WNBA. The topics we cover, like today's, are all current, and a new topic with a new game changer is released on the third Thursday of every month. This is a great way to stay current on relevant issues happening around us. Now, let's return to Cathy Engelbert, our new commissioner of the WNBA. Cathy, this isn't your first transformation. You've had several along the way at Deloitte. Tell me about what you've done in terms of those changes at Deloitte and how you keep those plates, in the air all the time, several legacies that you had at Deloitte and now those that you're going to be doing at the WNBA.
Well, Deloitte, it was kind of fascinating because you were observing firsthand, by serving over 80% of the Fortune 500, the pace of change particularly around technology and artificial intelligence and cloud and social and mobile and the future of mobility and the future of work and robotics, process automation and blockchain. So it's kind of fascinating to continue to see that evolving. But we made some bets at Deloitte. One of them was around cloud. 5-6 years ago, no one really knew what the cloud would become and how that would emerge in technology and the migration to the cloud. And we spent significant capital on investing in cloud capability that's driving, billions of dollars of work today in the consulting business. And so we also invested in the quality on the regulated side of the business, the audit and tax, and also technology there. So, under the guise of every company has become a technology company, that was the transformation there. Make your bets, stick with them, but abandon what didn't work, but keep going. Acquiring boutique firms around our capability to drive, our capability up. And, same thing in the WNBA. As I come in, it's not as technical around the evolution of the fourth industrial revolution, but sports is changing. Sports betting, esports, for the first time, the NBA 2K20 game that got launched in September of last year has WNBA players that you can draft into it. So that's kind of fun and something we really need to work with. What does esports mean for the women's game? What is sports betting? There is sports betting on the WNBA. How do we make sure we protect the integrity of the game, but use data and analytics and technology to drive a higher fan engagement? Because we know a lot of fans like to bet on games. So that's something obviously that's evolved on the men's side, and we're taking kind of our cues from the NBA on that as well. So again, lots of things, similarities about business and the relationships, but some differences in how you would engage a fan versus how you would transform a technology business, for instance.
So you see a lot of that happening in your world.
Oh, absolutely.
Forward, the betting and the e-business and the esports, all of that.
Yes, it's all going to become part of everybody's world in sports. And the other thing are platforms that are emerging on the media side. Mm-hmm. So, you see Twitch and Twitter and DAZN, and every day someone's talking to me about a different platform that is emerging because the barrier to entry around streaming is fairly low. And then you need obviously the broadcast rights and the media rights and the content and the distribution. Well, we have the content, live sports. So, thinking about the future of our media contracts, considering again, today, less than 4% of all media coverage of sports is women's sports. So we have, a lot of upside, let's call it, to invest again and be bold with some of maybe these smaller platforms. In addition to our longtime great partners, ESPN, we added CBS Sports Network last year, but now some of these, we've live streamed some games on Twitter where we do quite well, but whether it's Amazon Prime or Hulu or DAZN or a lot of these platforms that are emerging are really changing the landscape of live sports.
So what would your advice be to women in terms of negotiating for themselves, given this major contract that you've renegotiated for women players and the league itself?
Yeah, I would, Janice, probably say this to women and men who are coming up in their careers, but certainly women, as I see a lack of confidence sometimes in raising their hand to build their capability more broadly, to take chances in their career. That is such an important message. And I speak a lot at universities and did in my prior role to young women. And you see the lack of confidence versus their male counterparts at that level in their careers as they're coming into the business world. But they need, and I see it, my daughter just graduated college and I constantly telling her, you stretch yourself, raise your hand, do different things, be that person who is talking about, broadening your capability, learn, read, get
out of your comfort zone.
Get out of your comfort zone because too long. And I learned this lesson at Deloitte as I even became the CEO, thinking, okay, now I'm the first woman CEO. More women will have confidence to come to me and ask for jobs. Well, guess what? That didn't happen initially. I had an open role where 9 men knocked on my door for that role and no women. And I said, there's something wrong here. So constantly giving kind of confidence, because once you have the confidence to ask, then you build your capability. This is what happened with me. There were a couple male leaders who took a risk on me to do things out of my comfort zone. It built my reputation, my capability. So I had confidence to do anything after that, never knowing I would become the CEO. But it was that confidence that I built. And I think some of that came from sports and the big family and the competitiveness you asked about earlier. Some of it came from that. Not everybody's going to have that. And I recognize that, which is why I tell women, raise your hand.
Right. But you see this with your players now, the confidence they develop, right, in terms of playing the game.
And the leadership skills, Janice. There's a real difference when you see these women who, by the way, in our league are almost all college graduates, because we don't have this one and done that the men's side has, but they're all college graduates and they're educated, they're smart, they're socially conscious and community minded, and they're ready to attack the world, whatever the social problem is or the basketball issue is. So, it's so fun representing as the commissioner of this league and these diverse women, because we are seeing future leaders in the business world or the not-for-profit world or the broadcast world. We've got a variety of our players already doing broadcast or the coaching world, front office. So we're so proud that we're providing building those leadership skills while they play with us. And one of the other reasons I took the job was hopefully to help these women in their post-basketball career with what they're doing next, because they do kind of come out of college, play for us 8 to 15 years, and then they still have 20 years to go before they probably want to, relax a little bit. So making sure they're building and acquiring those skills while they're playing with us is important to their post-basketball life.
About a year ago, I hosted the University of Iowa basketball team before they went on to play Rutgers, and they won.
Oh, great.
But they are such an amazing group of young ladies, these basketball college teams. And I felt so tiny next to them, and I'm 5'8", right?
I did say, I used to be one of the tallest women at Deloitte, now one of the shortest women at the WNBA. So that has been a shift.
How do you energize them to also, attract more fans? How do you empower them in terms of getting more fans?
This is about marketing. And so one of the things we did in this collective bargaining agreement is the league, put aside a substantial amount of dollars to employ our players under what we call league marketing agreements. The teams are going to do it too. Our 12 teams will have team marketing opportunities. And we really need to drive more household names. We need to drive a couple rivalries. We're only 24, we'll be in our 24th year. Even 40 years into the NBA, that's when their big rivalry started with Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, coast to coast, the Celtics and the Lakers. And that drove The team, ultimately the media deals. A couple of years later, Michael Jordan comes along, household name everywhere now, as one of the greatest basketball players ever. So if you think about that, we're striving for some rivalries. We're striving for more media coverage year round because our season's a little shorter than most men's professional leagues. So we'll have 36 games this year. We'll take that break for the Olympics. We're going to use that as a big marketing opportunity. I mean, this is a dynasty, this women's national basketball team, the USAB women's team. So driving that marketing, using this momentum and this moment and this movement to drive that. But this is a marketing issue for us that we need to solve and fix. And we're hoping through the league marketing agreements, as well as the plan to capitalize on this movement, is going to really change the game for us.
And so you have been on a listening tour, haven't you?
Yes, a long listening tour.
Tell us about those experiences and what you've learned from that.
Yeah, it's been great. So I started about mid-season, about 4 days before our All-Star game, which typically is around mid-season. And then, after the All-Star break, which was in Las Vegas, went on a 12-city tour, went to every market, met with team owners, team management, the sales and marketing, the ticket salespeople, the media, and the fans, as well as the players, of course. So, because I knew I had to start building relationships very quickly, especially because we knew right when we came off the season, we had a collective bargaining agreement and we have to get to the work of transformation. So I did that, came back, had taken notes on my iPad of every single meeting I had, and we all, with my team, did a download and built the strategy of the 3 pillars around it, the player first, owner success, and fan engagement, and really the owner success being the economic model, and had about 54 initiatives coming out of that. Now that's too many. So really kind of honed that into several transformation items that we're going to execute now that we're done the collective bargaining agreement, and as we tip off the season in May for our 24 season. So lots to do. I said, when we came off of the collective bargaining announcement last week on Good Morning America, I said, now the hard work starts, the hard work of transformation.
I think, Cathy, you're going to flip a switch, though.
and
we're going to see like 5 major initiatives come out of this listening tour, aren't we, over the next 3 years?
You're going to see a different WNBA. And again, we've got a lot of hard work to do, and my team's been working hard. Our teams, our owners, could not be more supportive of the strategy, which they basically met and started after the players opted out last fall of the CBA in the fall of 2018. So the owners have been so supportive, and that's a really important part of this message. We're all in this together with the players and the teams. This isn't a we, they. That was the great part of negotiating. We bargained hard on each side, but ultimately we have the same goal here, to lift the league and lift these elite women up in society.
So what are some parting words in terms of for our audience to take away from what we're going to be seeing? As you said, it's not 40 years, it's only 24 years. Right. We don't have the Magic Johnsons, right? The name recognition quite yet, but we will.
Yes,
right?
we're getting there. So I would say, again, for your audience, please come to a WNBA game. As you said, people love the game. The pace of the game, and we're going to pilot some things in season. We piloted some things in the All-Star game to even drive a faster pace, including a shorter shot clock, live substitutions. But the quality, again, of the game, we're not going to touch a whole lot of. Our game is very, very strong on the court, a pure form of the game. But you're going to see much more sales and marketing, much more elevating our star players, much more engaging our players together with our fans, having more of a touch, and using hopefully technology and analytics to drive a different fan experience in arena and as a viewer on whether it's our league pass or on through our media that do cover us. So we're pretty proud of where we're going.
Well, Cathy Engelbert, you are an amazing leader, having been CEO of Deloitte and now commissioner of the WNBA. You are a game-changing win at the WNBA, and this has been a really insightful conversation. We're going to be looking for those major changes that you're going to be making, and we could not be more excited about your now new tenure since May of 2019, right?
Yes,
so this is very new. Thank you for our audience tuning in. You can find me on Twitter, Twitter, LinkedIn, or visit our website at ellagroup.com. And we look forward to you hearing us on the third Thursday of each month. Cathy, thank you for being our speaker today.
Thank you, Janice. Thanks for all you're doing to lift women as well, because it's all part of the ecosystem. So thank you.
We are all in this together. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes of Leadership Reimagined, Game-Changing Conversations.